God of War comes out this week. We reviewed it last week. We talked about it. We gushed about it extensively. But in our excitement, we managed to not talk about some very basic things. We avoided spoilers, and we'll continue to avoid spoilers. So don't worry. We don't want to spoil anything. But we do have some questions here that maybe you, dear viewer, listener, whatever, have for us about God of War. So I figured we could all answer that. Jonathan, how long is it?
Oh no, put me on the spot. I do mention this in my review. The story with playing a little bit of side stuff took me about 25 hours or so. I've probably sunk at least another 20 into all the side stuff. I've almost maxed out the entire game. I have just a couple things left to collect. But I'd probably have put in around 50 hours total.
Mm-hmm. And so we're using vague terms because there is no in-game counter. And so we have to assume how much we put. Like, you can't go to a stats menu and just say, I've been playing for 35 hours.
I want to say I played through the story in like 4 sittings, something like that. I don't know. I mean, they're
very long sittings.
Yeah. Some of those were, that was like 6 hours at a time.
Yeah,
but
I probably took longer than 25, but I also did a lot more of the side quests like often.
Yeah,
like
you did it more in.
Yeah. So I probably took like closer to 30 or 35, but by the time I beat it, I felt like I did a lot.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip ahead here. A question is it open world? No.
Well,
no, ish.
It's open world like the Tomb Raider games are open world.
Yeah.
Which is, I would say, very, very wide. Not like very wide corridors, sort of.
Yeah, like there's corners to explore, but it's not like you could see that mountain, you can go there.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those kinds.
So you are shepherded along story-wise to certain locations and things, but at a certain point the game opens up a bit more and allows you to explore. And it's a contained open world for me, where there are side things to do and things to collect and side missions, if you want to call them that, but it's not, the game is open and you can do every single thing.
Sure.
You will need certain aspects to go back. There's a hint of Metroidvania.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the modern Tomb Raider games is a very, very astute comparison.
Yeah.
And there's also sort of like, there's sort of open worlds, like there's different areas you go to that aren't necessarily like,
it's just like large spaces.
It's different.
Yeah.
I think there's several maps.
Yeah.
Different sort of, you go different places.
I see, like, I almost think of it more like, in 2011 when Skyrim and Dark Souls came out. It's not like Skyrim where it's like, here's a 30 mile by 30 mile area and you have to run a mile to find something. No. It's more like Dark Souls where it's like, here is a large intertwining area that's very dense and you'll want to, nooks and crannies are encouraged to be explored, and oftentimes will give you cool treats and cool scenes.
I will say that I burned through the story, and just this last weekend I sort of went back to try to explore some of the sort of side questy stuff, and I really wish that I wish I'd strayed from the main path more along the way. Like I was pretty much in a hurry to try to get through and find out what happened, so nothing got spoiled and everything. And I wish I'd sort of stopped to smell the flowers a little bit more. And
I have only played like maybe 3-ish hours of it. But is there like a waypoint system in there?
You can put you can put
Okay.
you literally
for certain things.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought that was interesting, because I think that kind of encourages exploration. It still does a decent job of like shepherding you, but it does kind of widen things in some places and choke down on
It's got one of those very pretty maps that is also fundamentally kind of useless if you're actually trying to use it like a map.
I think its actual in-game map is a bad thing in the game.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to list a couple of things I did not like, it's the in-game map, because the in-game map is very cool looking and it looks like a character in the world would have painted the map. But I'm like, a Google Maps
It
works way better
reminds
for me.
of the Game of Thrones opening map.
Yeah.
Like
we're like, you're awesome.
Yeah.
You would be a pain in the ass to navigate
like
Westeros.
I want that diorama in real life. Like, I want that, but it's when you're trying to find certain particular paths, it is not helpful in that way.
Yeah. Also, to talk about the open world thing, I play the game how you want. You bought the game, you play it however you want. I feel like the best thing to do is to oftentimes go off the beaten path and don't worry about, you have a main goal. But if there is a cool area, go explore it. Go do some side quests. Just because I feel like breaking up the story and the side quests, like sort of folding them in like a deck of cards, I feel like just for me provided like a really good flow.
Yeah. The game is very good in its main campaign, essentially, of shepherding you along, and it very much wants to be like, hey, here's a really cool moment to connect you to that moment. I didn't want to really ever stop. I never felt like, I'm good for now. Like, I wanted to keep going always. But if you do break apart from it, you get a lot that enriches the world and your experience in it.
If you play it as a linear game, it's got wonderful pacing, and if you like to get off and explore and poke around, it also rewards that, which is a nice balance.
Good way to put it.
Big question, obviously. It's called just God of War, but it's what, like the 5th or 6th game in the series? 7th.
Yeah,
there you go.
The
Yeah, and it's the 8th if you count the PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
I don't.
But do I need to play other God of War games to enjoy it?
I
No.
couldn't answer this one. I have played like maybe a handful of hours of any other previous God of War games, and I liked this just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can absolutely enjoy this game if you've never played God of War and this is your first one. You just want to explore the story. You'll absolutely not be lost, really, in any way, especially with the
But
main
if you
story.
do get lost, we do have a catch-up video.
Exactly.
On IGN.com.
I would say it's good to have some background, but you don't need to go marathon all 7 games right now to be able to be prepped.
I would say if you have a vague idea of who Kratos is as a character,
Yes.
it will actually kind of work to your advantage.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is about sort of this character with a violent past and who he is. And I think if the less you know, it's almost more. It kind of helps with that mythology, where it's like he's a mythical character, and it's sort of the idea of that, like, oh, maybe some of the details got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, one of the inspirations that they've talked about is Logan, and that's
yeah.
totally the same thing. I feel like Logan as a movie can stand on its own.
Yeah.
That being said, if you know who Wolverine is and who Charles Xavier are, and have seen some of their other wacky adventures, like X-Men 3,
Who could forget the scene in X-Men 2, Mutants United, when the younger man puts on the NSYNC song in the car?
called X-Men 2 X2 United.
No, it's called X2 X-Men United.
Oh, I got it in the wrong order.
It's
what
such
a
a
bad
bad
name
title.
for a movie.
That was a very
so
bad
bad.
one. That was very bad. Anyway,
Yes,
yeah,
but also
God of War, good.
legitimately Mitchell Saltzman, who's sort of our resident God of War expert, put together an amazing God of War in 7 minutes, which goes through the story in chronological order of the handheld games and Ascension, and then 1, 2, and 3. That is super helpful, and also shows you how silly the old story could be compared to when you play this, and how well told and thought out it is.
Yeah.
That was just a small snippet of this week's Beyond. For the full episode and lots more fun stuff, head over to youtube.com/IGNBeyond and subscribe today. I love you.